Hello, everyone. Sorry for the late start. I was seeing that there's some technical difficulties right now with Facebook with live streams, so I appreciate your patience very much. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're here with me today. We have such an important topic on taking, are you taking 100% responsibility for your life? And I know it's so easy to blame things on other people because then we don't have to take ownership. But blaming other people doesn't allow you to move forward and to grow to be the best version of yourself that you can have, that you can be. Sorry, I keep getting these pop ups around Facebook. Anyway, hopefully they'll stop. Um, so, I would love to have a discussion. If anyone wants to come live, you can put in the chat comments, or if you want to come live and ask your questions, that would be awesome. So, really, taking 100% responsibility really is a step in really growing and self evolving into who you are, into who you're supposed to be. Because as long as we blame other people and we're not taking responsibility, then it keeps us small and it doesn't allow us to fully evolve. When we take personal responsibility for who we are, then that means that, we have to be sincere. We have to apologize if we're wrong. And we have to take ownership for everything that we do in our life, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And I think in a lot of ways, when I started taking 100% responsibility, it kind of eases things a little bit because then you can be your authentic self. And you look at life a little bit differently, and it helps you to really grow because you try to be the best version of yourself. So that way you don't get into these situations with other people where maybe you have to apologize or make excuses for the things you've done in your life. So I know for me it was a really, really hard thing to do, and it didn't come natural. And probably for a lot of you out there also, it doesn't come natural. Um, but I want to really encourage you to take that step because your relationships will be much more authentic and meaningful. And when we take responsibility, then we can really choose the direction that we want our life to go in. So if things aren't going well in your life, then you can really look at them and assess them and say, okay, now what did I do or what didn't I do that has given me this outcome? And if you're not happy with that outcome, then it's time to really self evaluate and say, okay, what can I do different in the future? Because that's really what life is about, is really looking at our life and every instance of it. And, it's a roller coaster ride. And there's always things that we wish we had done differently. Hindsight's 2020, but we do the best that we can at the time. But when we realize that we're up against something that maybe is challenging for us, sometimes we might take the easy way out just because we don't want to deal with it right now. But when we see the outcome of the way that we dealt with certain situations, if they didn't turn out exactly how we want them, luckily life always gives us opportunities to and tests to redo that again until we get it right. And so if we want to stop coming up with those same tests all the time, it's like, okay, let's reflect, let's look at what we can do differently and how can we respond differently the next time that situation comes up. Because the more that we grow and evolve and really look at our life in a positive way, that's when we can make real differences in our lives and the lives of the people that are closest to us. I know, I made mistakes often in my marriage. I could have done things differently with parenting. Like unfortunately, there's no um, really a manual on how to overcome your past to be a completely different parent. You just kind of go through it and you get triggered. And how do you deal with those triggers when they come up? And, if you have a supportive spouse, that makes life so much easier because then you can really do things together as a team. But if you don't in that situation, then oftentimes you feel like your back's up against the wall. And how do I navigate this whole situation? And if things don't go the way that you hope they would, maybe it's easier to blame your spouse. Well, they weren't there. They weren't supportive of me. They didn't help me to do things differently in this situation when I was feeling overwhelmed. But that's playing the blame game again, and that doesn't help anybody. We all have choices on what we're going to do and how we're going to react. And luckily, God is kind enough to give us many opportunities to work on those same issues. Uh, our choice is to, as those things come up in our life, those challenges, is to take a step back and say, okay, how can I respond differently to this event this time so I can have a better impact and not feel like I have to blame people if it doesn't go right, but I can take ownership of my choices and the way I've behaved because I know that I'm doing the best that I can right now. This happens in relationships. It also often happens at work. I mean, how many people or how many times, at work, like you make a mistake, right? And it's easier to blame other people that weren't there to support you in those things because you're afraid that if you take 100% responsibility, that something bad might happen, like you might get fired from your job. But I think you have a lot more integrity when you can step up and say, yes, I tried it this way. It didn't work. I thought that this could be a really great way to do something. So I've learned now that that way doesn't work, and I'm going to do it a different way the next time. And that gives you a lot of credibility when you can really take that ownership and that responsibility and really allowing yourself to be authentic and trusting that you had the best intentions when you did this whatever it was, whether it be in parenting, in your marriage, at your job, that the intentions were good. You were really trying to make a positive impact, but sometimes life happens and it doesn't always work out how we hoped. But just taking that responsibility allows us to grow and be a much better person and more authentic. Does anyone have any questions, or would anyone like to come on live and ask questions or get some clarity around this idea? I would love to have you on. Feel free to post in the chat box and I can invite you in. This is what I really want this show to be, is where people can come in and ask questions about personal growth that are going to help them to be the best versions of themselves. So just going back on the topic, taking 100% responsibility and understanding that life can be really, really challenging, but those challenges are there to help us to grow, to be a springboard, for us to be the best version of ourselves. And so when things happen that are really, really tough, we're not supposed to get stuck in that negative cycle, but we're really supposed to take away the good things from it and learn from our mistakes and really grow and be the best version of ourselves. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this begins to shed some clarity on it. Uh, as we go through the week, I'll have the daily doses and I'll talk a little bit more about this, taking 100% responsibility, my little short snippets. So I hope you will stay tuned for those. And please join my Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/the stride of life. And I will be posting the links in there to the live show, as well as right now in the regular Facebook until I grow the group up enough. But I hope you'll join me there, and also my YouTube channel at youtube.com slash at Shira Raymond dash the or underscore the stride of life. Subscribe there as well. So, all right. So we'll see you next week on the live stream. Same time, same bad station, only different link. And I hope you have an awesome week and really, think about these ideas. Feel free to write comments either on my Facebook page or in the YouTube group, and let's get a discussion going about this. All right, everyone, have an awesome week, and I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you for being with me.